Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Good evening and a very warm welcome to everyone. I am Manu Kashyapa from Advaita Academy. Let us start with a small prayer. Sarvatma sarvadrugyosau sarvadhya sanirasakrit satatam sannidhatta me hridaye paramashivaha. I welcome you all to yet another session of Conversations on Consciousness. Today we have a very special guest, Shri L Ramaswamy ji. I welcome you to this session, Ramaswamy ji. Thank you for agreeing to do this.
Thank you.
For the benefit of our viewers, I would like to introduce Ramaswamy ji. Shri L Ramaswamy ji is a senior disciple of internationally eminent philosopher and spiritual guide, Swami Parthasarathy ji. He graduated in BCom and ICWAI in Chennai and worked with a leading management consultant firm in Chennai for a period of 2 years. Shri Ramaswamy ji is also a member of Mensa, an international society of high IQ people. Shri Ramaswamy ji has devoted over 5 years to intense study and research of Vedanta philosophy, that is knowledge of life and living, under the guidance of Swami Parthasarathy ji at Vedanta Academy near Pune, India. During the last 2 years of his study, he was also actively engaged in promoting the knowledge at various cities in India and abroad. Presently stationed in city of Kolkata, as a senior alumnus and research scholar of Vedanta Academy since February 2002, Ramaswamy ji has engaged himself to full-time propagation of knowledge through study classes, discussion groups on Vedanta. He is also chief events coordinator for Vedanta activities in Kolkata. He has addressed a varied audiences in India and abroad on practical techniques and applications of self-management principles based on Vedanta. And viewers, Ramaswamy ji has provided many classes and sessions through Advaita Academy, and many have been benefited from it. You can always check on our YouTube platform. Ramaswamy ji, I thank you immensely for agreeing to do this. I welcome you once again.
Thank you.
And today, Ramaswamy ji will be speaking with us about his life journey and some questions on Vedanta. And that brings to my very first question, that is, Ramaswamy ji, how did you develop an interest in Vedanta? How did it all start from at the beginning? Please share about your life journey.
Yeah. So basically, coming from I would say a generally religious family, which like many families are there in South, we were introduced to festivals and rituals and general interest in what Hinduism, God is all about. That is there as a part of our growing up. But the quest for knowledge, I would say, came up during our college times, when we had attended the Pune Yuva Kendra classes conducted by one of our friends, elder brother, and in an informal way only it was. But that sort of kindled some interest towards what this knowledge is all about. And plus, though I had been a commerce graduate and I finished the ICWA, there was sort of a lacuna I felt, wanting to know more about life. That urge was there during that time, and plus these informal sessions somewhat helped me to get into this in a deeper way. But there was nothing spectacular or nothing life-changing or earth-shattering moments that happened like this. It was a slow thing that was happening. But then I came to know about Vedanta Academy. So having a basic background of this and understanding this even at the concept level was not very difficult, as we see many now in the internet also. They are not probably a trained person under a guru or ashram, but they are full of knowledge. So that way, that part was not much difficult. But to implement those things in our life, that was what I was really looking for. Then we came to know about Swamiji and Vedanta Academy. Then I found a necessity to join there.
Wonderful. I think these fundamental things from your childhood have immensely influenced your further journey, I guess.
Yes, it has influenced, but there has to be a paradigm shift from merely following certain rituals and shlokas and other things, which I would say are essential as a building block. and towards the inquiry. So when the thinking process happens and when you are into questioning pattern, if we are able to get the right type of guidance and answers, then it helps us.
And Ramaswamy ji, you mentioned about studying at Vedanta Academy, Pune. And when did you decide to join a full-time residential course on Vedanta and its principal application in life? How did your 5 years journey go about? And you had a brilliant track record in school and university. You were doing great at a leading consultant firm. How did you make this transition from an employee at a leading firm to a student, a full-time student at Vedanta Academy?
Yeah, see, as such, when a person finishes his school or college, and then when he enters probably a phase where he is supposed to work, I think that is also a change in everybody's uh, approach to life itself, I would say. Because as a student, we are getting from our parents everything. We are getting money, we are getting emotions, everything is provided for us. Now, when you are entering into a work life, whether it is in a corporate, whether it is in a firm, whatever, you are introduced to that type of a life, there is a transition which you need to adjust in terms of now you are asked to contribute. Till now you are actually receiving, now you are asked to contribute. So I would say I was fortunate to work with one Mr. Kumar, and I learned many things, fundamental things in life, in, I would say, in a hard way also, but there was a very good training under him. In Chennai, he was a management consultant there. And as I said, but these questions were still there. And one of my friends also had joined the academy by then. And then when I came to know about this, and when I heard a lecture of Swamiji also once in Chennai, then I decided this is what I need to do. So in other words, before entering the life as such, we need to know the principles and fundamental laws of life. That thought came. So I have a full life ahead now. So I need to know and understand what is all about, and then probably it will give me a direction. And also came to know about the institute or academy, which will provide like a laboratory where we can experiment and find out the journey and truth for ourselves also. Now, obviously, there has to be it's not an easy transition. Many in the family and friends also sort of opposed to it. But I was fortunate that the person whom I was working with, he understood and he encouraged me. And later on, of course, when our parents and others, when they visit the academy, they also reconcile to this. But there is once we get that urge, if we are strong enough to hold on to it, probably then the divinity itself leads the way, we should say. But the one of the main reasons also I would say is, though, as it is mentioned, getting marks and getting good grades and being good in studies, that is one thing. For whatever reason, I took this commerce group and cost and work account. Those things did not gel with my personality also. It is probably my paradharma, and that also maybe fastened my journey into the spirituality to know more about the truth, because it was sort of feeling a lacuna or vacuum, even as you are doing somewhat outwardly good in life.
And it is a 5 years full-time course, and you had recently joined it. And how did it go about? I mean, there has, I think there would have been many instances where you would have felt that, am I on the right path? Why did I choose this? Did you face any of those situations, and how did you overcome that?
Okay, first of all, it is a 3 years full-time residential course. So when I joined, it was December 1996. So the thing is, I was more or less clear about where I was joining and what I was going to do. And at least for those 3 years, not only me, I would say many students at many points of time with various backgrounds, whoever has joined the course, from interactions with them and my own experience, I would say that part of those 3 years has been sort of the best part of our lives. If you ask me what is the best period of my life, those 3 years are the best period of my life till now. I do not know in future some other greater experience it will come or not, I do not know. But having joined there, the beauty of the institute was that there is there is a fixed program that was being drawn from morning 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and there was a schedule. And that schedule was very scientifically designed in such a way that it was meant to cater to all aspects of your personality. So there was an overall personality growth that was designed in it. It was ingrained in that design. There was so to get into the groove of the schedule itself, it took some months, because from the lifestyle that we had before joining there and to the level of discipline that is not enforced by anybody from outside, but you yourself want to do it like that, and to do it, it took some months, because we were never used to getting up early in the morning. Let's say we were not used to washing our clothes and other thing, yoga, jogging, various things that we do there.
Yes.
No, at all levels of our personality, at physical level, at the emotional level, and obviously at the intellectual level, because that was the focus there. There was a very strong dosage that was given, and those 3 years formed the basis, or it created the strong foundation, I would say. And it is not that at the end of the 3 years you become a Vivekananda or Ramatirtha, not like that, but at least a vehicle which is going at a certain speed, when you know what is the direction, you take a U-turn and come to the right direction. Still, there may be a long way to go. So that sort of confidence was given in the journey. At any point of time, we did not, at least from my personal experience, I did not feel that whether it is the right journey, or that sort of a question or doubt did not come about at all. It was only because the the highest level of the wisdom that was day in and day out being sort of bombarded into our head and making us feel inspired. In the 3 years could be a temporary phase, but it is like a temporary sannyas that you take and you are fully ingrained to it. It really lifts your spirits. And once you get into the groove of the schedule and wanting to know the truth, it really brings about the transition. So there was never that doubt at all. And obviously, after 3 years of study, what you want to do with life, whether you want to do it full time, all those questions come later. We take guidance and do. But even as we do it, whether some people who are staying here and doing, and some of us who are outside and doing this, the taste has been given. So even if you are not able to maintain the same inspiration outside also, but the thought and that remembrances of all those things, it tries to push us forward and give it as a directions. And
Correct.
definitely one of the major influences there is living with that master there, with him, learning it under him, with a close proximity. So that was really a wonderful experience for us.
Yeah, that's just wonderful, Ramaswamiji. And that brings to my next question, that is about, tell us about meeting with your Guru, Swami Parthasarathy ji, and how did you come to know about him, and what kind of influences did his teaching have on you?
Okay. So as I said, we had vaguely known about this academy and Swamiji only because one or two of my friends had earlier joined, but I had never met him in person. And even his lectures, which used to be regularly happening in Chennai and even in other cities, I have never attended before. And all that I knew was that he had, like Swami Chinmayananda had Gita Jnana Yajna, like that. Our Swamiji also used to have that. So when in 96 February was the first time I heard him, and even that experience was not something, something spectacular. That was a very fiery lecture that lit up the spark. Nothing like that. It was, and he was being quite frank and the flow was very smooth. But what is it that he is saying? Somewhat, it was, there was some sort of inquisitiveness that was generated in us. And then, as I said, once I decided that we need a laboratory, a place where we can try and experiment this, and then I found Vedanta Academy to be the place. And then I sort of joined that towards the end of that year. Actually, my interview with Swamiji was after I landed there. So sort of he had accepted me even before that. That was my good fortune, I should say.
Okay.
But the thing is, what we see, I really do not know. I have not visited various ashrams and various types of gurus. So there is no way that I have any point of comparison or anything like that. But from what we understand as it is my limited understanding again, because Kabira says that you can make the whole forest as the pen. You can make the whole earth as the paper. You can put the whole ocean as the ink. Still, you cannot write the Guru Gun. Guru Gunu Likona Jai, he says. So definitely no way that we are competent to talk about Guru. But standing in the shore, how much ever you can see, you can see. That much, that's all it is.
Yes.
What we have seen as when the characteristics of Lord Rama is discussed in Ramayana, I heard in a discourse also. Of course, the starting of Ramayana itself is like how Valmiki is asking the question about the perfect person. And there he is giving various qualities, and he is asking Narada, is there any person who has all these qualities? So that sort of a thing. And various things in those qualities may be apparently contradictory also. Say a person whose anger the whole world may be afraid about, but who is absolutely never going to get angry at all. No, how is this possible? A person who is there mingling with people and always friendly, and yet he is all alone by himself. Like that, if you see that there is something that is deeply within inside, like when we talk about the Adi Guru also. So Dakshinamurti is considered the Adi Guru, who is sitting under a tree, who is never moving at all, who is always in Maunam, like that it is. But Shankaracharya, who is considered the manifestation, Adi Shankaracharya, I am talking manifestation of the same, is a totally expressive nature. Like he goes all over India, he established Mutt and he's debating with people. So we see this sort of a contrast, yet inwardly both are the same. One is in the form of a kinetic energy, another is in the form of a potential energy. Like that, the potential energy manifests in the form of kinetic energy. Like that, as we went along, we were able to see this type of contrasting expressions and qualities. That does not mean automatically when a person is swinging from one side to another, he has to be ideal. But this is what it is. A person who is, let us say, deeply emotional, more than the transaction at the intellectual level. I'm talking about any transaction, but particularly from a teacher and a student, there's a deep emotional bond and a connection. It is said that that intimacy and that closeness is probably even more than a husband and wife closeness, if it can be understood. So there you find that there's extreme compassion and extreme emotional feeling, at the same time extremely strict and extremely, where a person has to be put down, he will be put down, because the only interest of a guru is to take that ego out of that student. So he will do everything. You may not understand sometimes externally, you may appreciate sometimes externally. He doesn't care. His only welfare is his only aim is the welfare of the student. So a true guru that way also, see, he himself has walked the path. He is very, very, what to say, allergic to all the attachments and bondages which he himself has come over. So having come over all these things, he would not really want to create a fresh bondage and fresh samsar with the ashram or with the students himself. So therefore, a true guru would like to make the students also independent. And those are the things that we saw actually and felt, even as we sat under him and studied. Um, so so we find that in one extreme that he has led a corporate life and into the world like that, but he has also withdrawn himself and completely for 1 or 2 decades into full research. Came from a very opulent family of a business family, and a shipping business was there like that. And at the same time, he was starting his life from with no money in hand, also like that. Where his next meal is going to come from, he do not know, like that it is. And then you will find that extreme passion about English poetry and literature and drama on one side. At the same time, Upanishad and Gita calling is there. So various things apparently contradictory to each other, but deep inside there was a quest for the truth, which was very visible in that person. And that was the same thing that he was able to or wanting to install in us. So most of the times our Swamiji would say, the challenge for any guru or any teacher is not to impart the knowledge that can be given in any way, and if there is a frequency that is matching with little bit of your intelligence, you can gather it. But how to create that awareness in the student that he needs knowledge. See, I have medicine and I know that, let us say, you are suffering and I want to give that medicine to you. But if you are not aware of your disease, why will you even come to me for any medicine, or how will I even impose that medicine upon you? Not possible.
Yes.
But that awareness has to come from within you only. I have to create all the things necessary for you to bring that awareness from you. So that is what probably he did day in and day out in the academy, that he created such an environment, such a atmosphere where the thirst for knowledge and that awareness was sort of kindled to all of us from our own levels. Various people at various levels, it doesn't matter, but from our own levels we were able to go to the next level by, and that I would say is his grace as such. So that way it was very influential.
Ramaswamy, and you have shared such an amazing anecdote from your study with Parthasarathy ji. And you have been a student of Vedanta and you have been seeking the truth of Vedanta. And are there any prerequisites for the seeker of the truth? How should a seeker of truth be? What should his aim and goal be?
Okay. So traditionally, when we talk about Vedanta as the ultimate study of the Upanishads, that is where the word Vedanta is also derived from. A person who is really qualified for the Upanishad, that is as it is given in the Upanishads, or also it's like a person who has finished his karma, Pariksha Lokan, Karma Chitan, all this is given in Mundaka Upanishad also. So a fulfilled householder who has finished his karma and who is also inquirer, like that it is given. Okay, there can be exceptional cases like a Nachiketa who is fired right from a very young age. Otherwise, the general rule is that a person who has known what is world and seeking what is beyond the world, he is given this. And then Samadhi, Shatka Sampati, and all those Sadhana Chatushtayam, all those things are as a general formula given. But I would say from the point of view of a modern approach to this, not going anything against what the traditionalists say, but when we see from the life of Swami Vivekananda and other great Vedantins downwards, they were able to bridge the gap between that highest level of what the Upanishad says to the level of each and everybody. From your level also, you can take this up. You can also approach this sort of a confidence they gave, this sort of what to say, they held the hand from where we are and pulled us up little by little. So that way, if you see, all of us are having some problems, some pressure, some stress, some strain in life, and all of us are wanting to be happy. This is like a universal phenomenon, and it applies to even animals also that way. But as a conscious seeker, if you are aware of that sense of unfulfillment in you, and you are aware that being a human being and as a thinking faculty, there must be something from where I can sort of aim to satisfy this, not just on a temporary basis, but on a more permanent basis. If this sort of a conviction little bit comes, and once the deep conviction comes within, I would say that person is qualified to learn Vedanta at his own level. So you're talking about that there is a body, that there is a mind, there is an intellect, and you need to control your mind to be just a happy person in the world, even as you pursue success, even as you pursue certain things in life. You can even categorize that under practical Vedanta. Hopefully, he will not definitely stop there, but with that as the base, he will further go into the truth. But what is important for any seeker is that truthfulness in the quest. The point is, even if I want to achieve certain things in the world, I must firmly have that Shraddha in wanting to achieve it and then do it. Exactly the same way, if there is a reality, if there is a God, it is not like a casual question. It can come at any stage in life. It can come out of a tragedy in life also, whatever it is. But it is not what they call it as like a smashana vairagya, that just because a person has died and for 2 days you give up everything in life, and then third day you are going back to the same routine only. I mean, that is what life is all about.
Yes.
But if you are able to get that, or they talk about even what is known as prasava vairagya. After that delivery is over, that lady says, no more going through this. It is a painful thing. But when things are conducive, again, she may go through the same experience. So these are certain things that we may get out of a temporary thing. But if you are genuine about your seeking, and if the quest, so before you ask any question, that quest aspect must be there. That quest must be genuine within you, and you must be truthful to yourself. That's all it is. Then I would say the right source of knowledge will come to you. Yeah.
I think you have wonderfully put out how the truthfulness in whatever we seek is really important for any journey, be it worldly affairs or seeking the truth of Vedanta itself.
Right.
And you have also remarked how important what is the importance of a guru in a seeker's journey, a student's journey. And the entire Upanishads that we have is in form of conversation between guru and shishya. The shishya asks the questions and guru gives him the answer and takes him through the journey. And could you please elaborate how important it becomes of a guru in student's journey to the ultimate reality? How should a student see his guru? And the first question is, how does one find such a guru to start the journey itself?
Right. So it is very true that, and particularly in this country, there is a very, very strong weightage given to the Guru Shishya Parampara. And the Parampara or the traditional or Agama is considered a very authentic sort of source of this knowledge also, which has, I would say, a lot of weightage, not only in scriptural and Vedantic tradition, even in a tradition like a music,
yes,
or dance or any other art that anybody is learning, or in the form of purohits and rituals and various things, astrology, astronomy, anything that you may learn, there is a strong emphasis given on learning it from the Guru. Even today, as people can listen to an audio and practice the singing, but they say nothing like going to a teacher, be with him or her, and serve her and learn it like that it is given. So what we understand is, therefore, the transaction between Guru and the Shishya, the student and the teacher and the student, is not merely at the level of question and answer or merely at the level of the intellect. There is a merging of the personality levels at all levels. So we see that in this country, why teachers were considered as a very sort of backbone or a great upholders of dharma or society itself. They are like the pillars, because as the bird is incubate the egg and it is able to hatch the young one out of it, in the formative years he is supposed to incubate and hatch a very new being out of that embodiment. So when my body is born, it is only the body is born. The mind and intellect are yet to develop, and that has to develop properly, and given the proper samskara means a person who is acharya is not somebody, of course in English we have the translation as a teacher, but acharya is somebody who walks the path and shows the way also. So what is the transaction happening is not at the word level, even in the home. A parent may say something, but what really influences the child is how the parent conducts himself in the house.
Exactly.
They look up to the father or they look up to the mother and imbibe all the qualities. So the teacher is teaching the highest knowledge and highest philosophy. Along the way, he is teaching how to do karma and various things in the world. But the student is also able to see how the teacher is able to conduct himself and how he himself is walking along the path or taking him shoulder to shoulder. So that way, any amount of Google, any amount of repository of any knowledge cannot be a substitute for the Guru. Guru's intervention is sort of, I would say, mandatory. Though there can be exceptional cases that maybe they have all prepared in the previous Janma, and in this Janma they are just flying high right from the beginning. Otherwise, but there are certain paramparas who make it like 100% mandatory. The Vaishnava paramparas, the Sikhism also, they give a lot of emphasis on Guru, and various other parampara also. Now, this Guru or a teacher, whatever be the source of knowledge. Say, for example, if I am at LKG level, a 5th standard student who can teach me ABC or a 10th standard student, both are actually good enough for me, because I am at a level where I should learn ABC only. For me, both are like God only, because I am not able to even understand the next level. So exactly like that, at whatever level we are, somebody who is well above that level, if he is able to guide me, take me shoulder to shoulder, that is really good enough for me. Now, but how this comes? This comes on the basis of, I would say, the law of demand and supply. In Bhagavad Gita, he says, See, even in our own lives, we would have experienced when there is a deep thinking and a deep earnestness about any question also, somewhere you will see a movie and suddenly you will find the answer there. Or somebody in the temple will be saying something and that will be hitting you somewhere. It is all the basis of a vacuum is created within you, and there is a pressure which will flow the air towards the vacuum and fill it. So the law of demand and supply works 100% at all levels. Be it when you are definitely seeking something in the world as a material object also, that is also provided for you. Like that only it functions. Exactly like that, when there is a thirst for a source of knowledge, you prepare yourself at all the three levels. Gita says, chapter 4, verse 34, that tadviddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So if you are able to prepare yourself with that surrendering attitude, this is very important, particularly in the modern context. Again, this is a contradiction, apparent contradiction we see. We are living in an age where there is a lot of scientific advancement and there is a lot of questioning, not taking things for granted. And this is exactly what our guru also emphasizes. Never take anything for granted, however obvious it is for you. In fact, the real learners are who will be able to unlearn and relearn again and again. So there has to be that constant process. At the same time, it says pranipatena, surrender also. Surrender means I do not know, please save me. Like that, you fall at the feet also. At the same pariprashna, in a question also, this doesn't seem to go hand in hand. But yet, if we understand at the mental level that you have that attitude or bhavana of surrender, at the same time, with that attitude only you question, sir, it's not that, how do you say, with the arrogant attitude, sir, I am not able to understand. Will you please explain me? That guru is obliged to answer till you are satisfied, like that it is.
Yes.
And so this sort of, when this attitude is developed at the mental and the intellectual level, plus physically, whatever service you are ready to do, because unless otherwise that attitude of gratitude expresses itself in any form of service, not that guru requires anything, it will actually help us to imbibe that knowledge. We see in the Upanishad also, I think in Prashnopanishad, they are asked to serve for a year, and then guru says, if you have that question, please come and ask me. Like that it is. So that way, guru should knock at your door in that sense. And one of the, I forgot to tell, in the Vedanta Academy, one of the USPs there is that this questioning principle is not just encouraged in our classrooms, it is encouraged as a formal group discussion amongst ourselves also. So I really do not know about other ashrams and institutes, so I cannot comment. But I would say one of the great things about Academy that has helped us in this knowledge-oriented course is that you are allowed to ask any questions. Obviously, you go through the course and you are asked to follow that pattern of study. In that only you should ask. But other things related to that also, you are asked, you are allowed to ask. Then among students ourselves, we take it up for discussion. We have a discipline in clarifying, answering. So there is a way by which you don't take things for granted and you are able to develop this intellect. So once this sort of a things comes, guru comes and helps. And another important thing about being with the teacher is that a living person is able to gauge you at your level and take you from there. It is not that he bombards with, suppose if I'm at 20%, if he is talking something 22, 23, 24, I will be able to relate. If he is going to give the highest of 100 all the time, it will go over my head. At the same time, if he is going to talk about 1%, 2%, I'll feel bored. So a living guru is able to relate to you at your level and then take you step by step from there. So that way, I would say there is no substitute for studying under a teacher. There's no substitute for that.
I think Ramaswamy, you have beautifully explained the importance and role of guru that is being played when nowadays we are questioning itself, the existence of a guru and guru parampara. They're questioning it. Why do we want a guru parampara? We don't need it. I think you have beautifully answered all those questions. And we have been speaking about seeking the truth, the vision of Vedanta, the ultimate truth. And what is this universal truth? And why is Advaita the only universal truth? And why should one seek it?
See, universal. Now, I'm just clarifying the question. When you say Advaita is the only truth, there is a sort of assumption in the question that we are assuming that Advaita is the only truth. And here, are you referring to the system of philosophy which is Advaita here?
No, the Advaita as a not as a philosophy, but as a reality.
Reality, fine, understood. Okay, So the question is, I'm just confirming the question to you. So you're asking, why is it that there is something called as the universal truth, and why is it that this Advaita truth has to be pursued? Am I right?
Yes,
Right?
you are. Yes, you are.
See, it is definitely when we look at our own experiences in life, certain questions occur to us at various points of time in life, whether why is it happening to me, or why is it happening now? Suppose a doctor diagnoses something in my brain, and some reports are very bad about something. Then the question is, what did I do to deserve this? Okay, even if I say I should have this, why now? Why not at a later stage when I have finished all my karma in life, something like that? So these type of questions, then I might have a tendency to maybe to question God himself, or vexed about certain problems in life. So when some deep tragedies, but the best part is when certain things, very nice things happen to me, at that time that questions doesn't come, why happening to me? But usually it comes when there's a tragedy or something that happens to me. Now, when we look at all these things from a little broader perspective, so a person as he goes along with his experiences in life, and if he is able to see this functioning of it, obviously I am going to view it from my limited experience only. Each and everybody is colored by his experience. But even here, with the help of knowledge, if you are able to have a little broader perspective, we see that the functioning of the world is based on perfect order and perfect cause and effect. So that is why probably we call it as a cosmos. It's not a chaos. Nothing happens out of turn. So if you see in a year, the seasons come in a very beautiful way. Day and night comes in a very beautiful way. The ice, let us say, that melts into water, and the water that freezes into ice happen in a particular temperature. Nothing here or nothing there. It goes on perfectly. Similarly, my blood pressure and blood sugar and everything is maintained within me within certain limits. The temperature and pressure outside is also maintained within certain limits. If the sun's temperature were to shoot up a little more, we will be burnt. It were to freeze before a point, we will be frozen. But some order is there maintaining all these things, making it so beautiful and conducive for us, not just for us, all the creatures. And that is why our Swamiji often says, National Geographic or the Animal Planet is one of the best channels if you want to really understand the perspective of life, which will lead you to Vedanta. So more than any Astha, Sanskar in those channels, he says Animal Planet will teach you Vedanta. So when we see this, there's a lot of perfection in this. Whenever see there's a perfection, then we feel that all these functioning, all these are elements, right? These elements which are so powerful. Earth itself is very powerful.
Yes.
One earthquake can cause so much damage. One tsunami can cause so much damage. So water is powerful, fire is powerful, earth is powerful, wind is powerful. Each of these elements are perfectly harmonized and kept under some control. And not only that, all the actions of the people and their things are also ordained in a particular way that it follows a pattern. So when all this Prakriti, which is Jada and Jiva, which is both the inanimate and the animate, they are functioning in perfect order, it is always intelligent for us to posit an ordainer who is controlling all these things. Because when laws are functioning well, that means the law governor or the law controlling authority has to be pakka and powerful.
Yes.
You see laws functioning in Singapore very well. That means the government of Singapore is maintaining and implementing these laws very well. Like we may have even more powerful laws in India, but we tend to break it, or it is not in order. That means it is not the problem with the laws. The problem is with the person who is controlling and maintaining these laws. So when and in any organization, be it any big organization, ultimate authority or chairman has to be only one. The deciding and the controlling authority has to be only one, under whom there can be various general managers and various people can be there. So when you are able to view, so we need not start with positing a God, but when you see the provisions here that you have got, when you see the functioning in this universe, it is logical for us to posit that there has to be an entity, and that entity is all powerful, under whom everything is functioning properly. Therefore, that entity which you call as truth, which you call as God, which you call by whatever name, put it X also, that has to be there is sort of a stronger conviction within you. So this is what then when we approach Vedanta, it says, yes, the truth is there. The truth is consciousness, or the truth is whatever the name is given, Ishvara, Bhagavan, whatever name. But it does not only stop at giving names for that. He says, you as a seeker, you will be convinced about the answer only when you know the truth for yourself. So it is not that my master has told me, therefore it is great, or the Shastras has told me. Ultimately, I have to have it in my Anubhava. So therefore, that one entity, if you are able to visualize, it has to be logically non-dual. So when you talked about that Advayam or Advaita, that is why any scientific-minded person, any person who goes by reason, logic, he need not see, in the Western sense of the term, atheism is something that you don't believe in a God as ordained in, let's say, Bible or something like that. It's okay. But as long as a person is an inquirer who is wanting in the truth, we see that many scientists and others also, they concur on the same point. They may not be able to exactly define or catch it or clinch it like our rishis, but everything points out to that direction which you call as Advaita only. We really do not know what it is, but all the things point out to that direction which is called as the truth.
And everything that you said is based on the Anubhava Pramana also. Not just because some scripture says it or a guru says it, because it is in the Anubhava itself.
Correct. There is no higher pramana or the proof thing for you except your experience. Say, for example, if I say I bring in all the articles in Google and I say even say a couple of scientists to tell you that fire is cold, you will still not accept, because fire is hot is ingrained and as 100% Anubhava in you. Okay. So you know it for sure. There need not be any. So if anybody asks, how do you say fire is hot? You say, I am telling you, man, what else you require? That sort of a conviction, it will come, and then you can explain to him also. But at the same time, only one caution here. Even as you, because along the way also Vedanta says it's an experimental science. You have to understand, experiment small things in life, then you know it for sure, then your belief in the unknown is also increasing. But even as you are able to read experiences from your life, you must be able to read it properly. If somebody says, I am reading a book under moon, and my anubhava is that moon has light, that is his conviction and he experiences it. But a deeper science will say that moon per se does not have light. It is the sun's light that is getting reflected. So when a person is able to say that sun has light and moon reflects only sun's light, at least you must have the humility to go into the inquiry along that side. You cannot say, no. So it is the same thing as I say, how do you say, ice cream is the best pleasure? I eat it and I enjoy it. What more? Why do you bring in Vedanta, Atma and all those things and confuse me? So just eat, enjoy, have merry in life, and that is my anubhava. If somebody says it is at a very, very shallow level. So one must be very careful in reading one's experience also.
And you mentioned about how non-dual is the true nature of ourselves, and if non-dual nature is the very nature of ourselves, then why do we need to realize which is already ours? And how do we distinguish between our true nature and not true nature?
Okay, so the thing is that non-dual self is your true nature is being told to you by the Guru, by the Shastras, right? But as of now, my experience is not that. I feel myself to be this limited entity with this limited body-mind equipment only, right? I consider myself to be 5 foot, 6 foot height with certain characteristics, certain desires and emotions within me, certain thoughts and ideologies within me, and that is what I believe to be myself. And the moment I believe this to be myself, there are other things also. There is plurality, there is world, there is others, and then there is an entity called God, which is told. All these things are there. The moment I consider myself to be this, but this is my practical experience now. I do experience myself to be this only, and this is what I believe myself to be. Therefore, they are saying that you need to realize it. That which is, so when you say realize, it is not something that obviously you are going to gain from some experience, because anything that is gained out of your limited effort has to be there with you only for limited period of time also. That limited period can be a very, very long period also. Like Ravana or Hiranyakashipu could be having that type of tapas to have that type of a prabhutvam they had also. But after that, it is not going to be permanent. So anything that you get out of limited tapas, limited effort, that effect will be limited. So infinite is not the product of the finite or any limited effort is the declaration. But that which is already there within you, it is the question that is therefore the question is put back to the questioner as to why have you not realized it? So if you feel you have not realized it, the onus is upon you to realize it. And if you feel that awareness that comes within you, then probably Shastras and Gurus will give you guidance as to things. So it is not to say that somebody says I am a millionaire, somebody says I am a millionaire, but the fact is that I am begging for food now. I don't believe myself to be the billionaire, but somebody is always saying I am a millionaire, and I must understand that the ₹1,000,000 is buried under my feet and I have to just dig it and take it, that's all. Or at least I must, the very moment I know that it is there, I'm already, that feeling of millionaire will come to me, right?
Yes.
So it's just the realization. It is not bought from outside, it is that realization. So the onus is upon the questioner, on all of us, I would say, to have that awareness. What are you really feeling now? That is not the true feeling. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that wonderful answer. And there is a famous Vedantic statement, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmeva Naparaha, and it is also one of the most misunderstood one. So the question is, when all the objects in the world are perceivable, how do we say that world is illusionary and not real? Because I have an experience of an object, I gain pleasure or displeasure from an object. How do I say that it's not real?
Right. So in English, we use this term illusory, which rightly in that quote also you said Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. So Mithya is something which probably from there only we get the word myth also in English. I do not know. Maybe I'm saying. So from the point, so when we talk about Mithya, you talk about this example of the mirage in a desert, etc. From the point, one angle it appears to be there. From the reality point of view, when you go there, it is not there. All these things is fine. Now, try to examine your own question. You say that I am perceiving the world, and those things are reacting to my senses. I am having an effect of it. I have a stomach. It is feeling hunger, and I need to eat it. So, do you mean to say that I should just think of food, and therefore it will be filled, or you know? So, my hunger is real. If near and dear one dies, that dukkha that I feel is so touching my heart. How can you say that it does not impact me?
Yes.
Now, the reality aspect of it that you give to the world in your question is also based on what your senses. I perceive it. I perceive it. That you are looking at me and I am looking at you is to be taken at the face value. Otherwise, there will not be even proper conversation with him. Okay. Suppose I only think that you are actually not there, but I am imagining yourself to be there, means it doesn't work out that way, right?
Yes.
Vedanta only asks you to examine these questions a little deeper and further. You say that your senses are the pramana, or they are the proof for you that the world exists. Okay, fine. Now, look at it from two angles. When you say that senses are the, I'm saying senses are the proof for me that the world exists, whose senses are to be taken as standard? Ants also have senses. Elephant also has senses. Fish has senses. For fish, everything is very clear inside water. For you, it is not clear at all.
Yes.
And let us say uh, the bees that are humming around that flower, okay, they are drawn towards the flower. When we look at the National Geographic and other channel or certain documentaries, we see that how the bee views the flower. Its view or the color that you and I see on the flower, it is not available for the bee.
Yes.
Right? Exactly like that. Suppose you say, uh, There was a person, I heard in a lecture, but possibly it is true. I mean, what happened was that person met with a slight accident. He fell down somewhere, and what happened was he got hurt inside this ear. Somewhere, something happened. Not a major thing. After he went to the doctor and came back, everything seemed to be all right. But constantly he was hearing music, some song, and he was able to even tell what songs and film music was there, some other music was there, nobody was hearing, and everybody, then they took him to the psychiatrist and other thing also, no mental problem, nothing actually. Actually, he was coming along with the song, but only he was hearing. Then what they understood was in that accident, certain bones in his ears, they got misplaced a little bit in such a way that they were able to catch the frequency of the radio station that was nearby. Without the help of a transistor, he was able to understand that, because they understood all the songs and they said this song, next. Exactly that song was going on there actually. Then they understood he was able to hear that frequency with this. Now, suppose if that was a person who was there from the beginning, you'll say what he is hearing is right or what you are hearing is right. I can hear a frequency, let us say from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. This is the human frequency. Bats are able to hear certain sounds beyond that. They say even when the flower opens the petals like this, there's a sound. Some insect or something else may hear that. Some bacteria or something may be able to see some other thing. Now, what is the exact nature of the world? Whose sense is the standard? That is the question that you need to ask. So therefore, there is something that you perceive, that there is no doubt. But that what you are perceiving is truth just because I see it. Therefore, the moon is in such and such shape, such and such weight, and such distance. Why? Because I can. So whose perception is to be taken as standard? Is it the human perception? On what basis? Are you the majority? The insects and birds are in much more majority. The fish are in much more majority. No. You say that human being is in the highest level of evolution. Okay. So he can understand how other creatures see, but other creatures may not be able to see how he understands. Suppose if you even give this type of argument, then it is said that human beings alone have various gradations. How can you consider you to be the ultimate when rishis are saying, I am seeing something else? Where you see as the pluralistic phenomenon, I am seeing a uniform consciousness that is functioning. Why don't you take that to be standard? So in any case that we see, each and every one of us, when we are asserting the world's reality with our sense perception, we are taking that sort of, within quotes, not really, arrogant stand that my perception is the standard. Yes. So that cannot prove the reality of the world per se. But there is something happening, that much is clear. Second angle that you need to look at it is, your perception is based on your senses. Your senses are made up of the same 5 elements that the world is made up of, right? So these 5 elements are proving the existence of the 5 elements.
Yes.
So it cannot be or need not be taken as a conclusive evidence. It could be reasoning in circle also. So when you think along these lines, you will start questioning the very fundamental nature of the world. Again, we are not here to say that is whether it is real or unreal, or the inquiry starts. From there, you are led to the point to understand that how that one thing manifests as many and how we are able to perceive. In fact, this is one of the greatest contributions, I would say, of Swami Ramatitha. I must say only one thing. Our Swamiji was, of course, he was studied under Swami Chinmayananda and he was in the mission also for a long time. But one of his main inspirations is also Swami Ramatitha, who was a contemporary Vivekananda. Everybody, whole world knows Swami Vivekananda, but Swami Ramatitha hardly people know. Even in spiritual realms, we do not know. In fact, when Nitin asked me to produce videos and all, that was the time even recording and videos and other things came. Our first production was the talk on Swami Ramatitha only. It is there in the Advaita Academy YouTube channel also. So Swami Ramatitha talks about this in his lecture in America about this theory of perception. It's one of the most important subjects, I would say, for a Vedantic student. Of course, all that he has derived from our Shastras only, but he has given it in a very scientific way. And in the contemporary Europe at that point of time, various philosophies like idealism, realism, various things that they were constantly in debate. So he reconciles everything and brings them under the umbrella of Vedanta very nicely. So there he says that Your sense, which is made up of the five elements, which is asserting that the five elements of the world exist, cannot be taken as a conclusive proof of the reality of the world.
Wonderful. Yeah. I think this has been a wonderful, eye-opening answer that you have given us. And my next question is, when we say that we are conscious of seeing something or hearing a sound and something, are we referring to the consciousness as a sensory awareness or the supreme consciousness itself? How should one see it?
Okay. The moment you say conscious of, that conscious of is referring to a sort of what we in our Vedantic parlance call as a conditioned consciousness only. So what is this conditioned consciousness? Let us only analyze this term conditioned. When something in its pure form is there, that pure form is getting altered by some external agent by which the pure form appears to be something else. Then you say that it is conditioned. For example, pure water is there. Something you add into it, a dal, another thing, if you add, it becomes a sambar or a rasam or something like that. Or you add some other ingredient, sugar, another thing, you add to water, it becomes a cool drink, a Pepsi or a Coca-Cola. So you can, from that angle, say that Coca-Cola is a conditioned water. Something is, so what is conditioned? Some Swamiji says some impurities as conditioned. Impurities like that. So exactly like that, the declaration of the Upanishads is that consciousness is nishkalam, it's nirmalam, it is very pure. What is, how do we define purity? Purity is something where nothing else apart from it exists in it. So when you say 100% gold, of course it's not possible. 100% gold means nothing apart from gold exists in gold. 100% copper means nothing apart from copper exists in copper. Then it's 100% copper. Exactly like that, something is pure means nothing apart from it exists in it. So apart from self, nothing else exists and therefore it is pure. But from our experience, we see that the pure consciousness seems to be conditioned. And what is this conditioning all about? What has brought about this conditioning? Each one is conditioned by his or her own thoughts only. So when you talk about conscious of something, conscious of a sound, conscious of a sight, conscious of your own emotions and other things, or conscious of your own knowledge and ignorance, various things. All these things is the pure consciousness, as it were, conditioned by your thoughts. So therefore, what you experience is a conditioned consciousness. But in reality, consciousness cannot be conditioned and it is not conditioned. But it does appear conditioned. Like the sun cannot be conditioned by the reflecting medium. It cannot. How can a sun? But in a broken mirror, the sun may appear broken. The blue mirror, it may appear blue. The green mirror, it may appear green. But the sun is not green or blue or broken or dirty or anything like that. The real sun above is free from anything. That small mirror can be equated to our small mind in that thought. What is interesting is the frame of the mirror is finite, but what is reflected there is actually infinite. The sky above is reflected there as the infinite also below. So exactly like that, within the periphery of so-called our limited mind, if you are able to view that, through that, whatever you experience in the world has to be in the realm of consciousness, but it is conditioned consciousness. Even in the deep sleep where there is no object for you to experience, yet at that point of time, you are not able to realize that pure Atma nature by itself because you are completely in an ignorant state. And then when you wake up and you say you slept well and other things, then we understand that that time of sleep also, I was only conscious of that nothingness, of that blankness. So whenever you use this term of something, that consciousness has to be understood as a conditioned consciousness only. So here the external factor that seems to condition is the thoughts. But again, when you go and examine what is this thought per se, I think in Ramana Maharishi's words, he says, Manasam tu kim margane krite naiva manasam marga archava. When you turn back and ask this question to the mind as to who are you, then it withdraws itself and completely it vanishes, that sort of a thing. That thing which is insubstantial, sort of nothing inside, creates a big sort of samsar for you. And in fact, this we can say is the play of Maya as it is, that is the conditioned consciousness.
Yeah. And this leads to my next question, that if the world that we see is only dependent reality or apparent reality, what should our relationship with that be? How should we interact with that?
Okay. Now, the Satyam that we talk about in Vedanta is the ultimate Satyam, which is Paramarthika Satyam, which is the same in all points of time. That is the definition, which does not change in the past, present, or future. So that is one extreme. That is the absolute reality. At the same time, anything apart from that, you cannot say it is unreal, because unreal is the exact opposite of real. If reality exists at all point of time, unreality never exists at any point of time. It was not there in the past, it is not there now, it will not be there in future also. So, Shasha Shrinka is all famous
Yes.
traditional example. That is the horns of a rabbit,
Yeah.
or a flower in the sky, or like that. So if you say, I have seen a rabbit with a horn, that means it's not a rabbit. That's all it is. So if you say rabbit, it doesn't have a horn. If it has a horn, it is not a rabbit. So rabbit's horn is a unreality. So what is interesting is, we cannot even explain unreality. In order to explain unreality, you have to bring two things which we know. We know rabbit, we know horns, and we then combine them together and say it doesn't exist. We know flower, we know sky, and we say flowers in the sky don't exist. So unreality is never existing. You cannot give an example in the past, present, or future. It is not there at all. In between these two is what we call as this Vyavaharika Satyam. Vyavaharika Satyam is a relative reality. Relative reality pertains to our experience of this world particularly. As long as you experience this, it is real. It may not be there before or now, but you cannot deny that experience now. As I'm talking to you now, this is a reality for me.
Yeah.
So, when I am going to eat food and it quenches my hunger, and the water that I drink quenches my thirst, that is real actually. So, therefore, your experience of the world is real. It is called as relative reality. It is vyavaharika, it is practical. And at the level that we are, let us not deny this. Okay. See, when you see a boat being there in the sea, okay, and you are in that boat, and the boat is rocking, you better surrender to the captain of the boat, who is going to take you to the safety. As the camera zooms behind, you see that the whole boat is there in the screen only. When the whole movie is switched off, the boat goes, along with it, the captain of the boat also goes, right? So exactly like that, now we are in the boat, this boat is there in the samsar. Therefore, the captain, who is the supreme Ishvara for us, let us surrender to him, that he is going to navigate us through this, and he is going to reach us in the shore of the reality. So therefore, in the practical reality, our relation to the world must be that in the back of the mind, you understand what is said in the truth as the Paramarthika Satyam, what Guru has told and what the Shastra has told. Someday, sometime we have to reach there, never leave that thought. But how do I use this world properly? How do I walk in this world properly so that I am able to transcend this world? If I'm able to do this, I will be able to only then enjoy my journey also. If I'm clear of my destination, and if I know that I've got into the proper boat, then my journey in that river is also very enjoyable. So I have to use this world properly, because in order to transcend my body, mind, and intellect, I have to use my same equipments only. So the example of pole vault is also very relevant here. There is a athletic discipline called pole vault. A high jump is where you jump a height without a pole, right? Maximum even record is 2.45 meters or something like that in high jump. But if you want to jump 5 meters, 6 meters, you cannot jump. So you hold a sort of a bamboo stick or some flexible stick. You come run, peg it, and then go up to that level, and then you have to leave that pole and jump over to the cross over to the other side. So what is interesting in pole vault is that you cannot cross that height without a pole, but you cannot cross that height with the pole also. You have to leave that pole there. So you have to hold the pole up to that point and then leave and transcend. Exactly like that, our body, mind, and intellect with which we do karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, all are part of this world only. No, nothing to deny about it. Use it. We have to use it. No other choice, because that is what is going to take you to higher and higher heights, like the pole in the pole vault. Once you reach that height, you will have to leave that and transcend to the other side. So our relationship with the world must be to use it in such a way that you don't get entangled in it, but use it in such a way that you are able to transcend it.
That is just a wonderful answer that you have given us, Ramaswamiji. And Ramaswamiji, you're also a chief events coordinator of for Vedanta Institute at Kolkata. What kind of activities does the institute carry out, and what are the classes that you do in the institute?
Right. So one of the, I would say, the ways that Swamiji visualized was that the products of the Vedanta Academy, after 3 years, we are free to do what we want. That's how it is. But some of us who are, let's say, inspired by the knowledge and we want to continue this, then we do operate under his guidelines. So at various cities all over the world, particularly wherever there is a English-speaking country or English-speaking audience that is there, because most of the knowledge and classes are conducted in this language only. So that way, since 2002, I'm here doing my own study and research, because 3 years, as I said, has given only the basic framework and foundation. It is for you to build up from there. So our own study reflection that has to continue. And then we also try to take study classes for those who cannot, let us say, commit to 3 years, who are also seekers at their own various levels that they are there. We cater to them by taking texts like Gita, Upanishads, Bhajagovindam, and Atma Bodha, and also the text written by our Swamiji, that is Vedanta Treatise, Governing Business and Relationships, The Holocaust of Attachment. These are very fundamental books that he has written. So one of the, I would say, great contributions of Swamiji is to bring in the sublime philosophy of Gita and Upanishads to the common man's day-to-day life. So how is it that I can even conduct business? Where does our intellect, how does it help in there? How does Vedanta help in there? To that extent, how can I maintain a harmonious relationship in the house? So if I am not able to be in harmony with my home and family, what is the big Sarvatma Bhava and universal love that I'm going to talk about? It's all, it's not really true. I mean, when I say
Yes.
true, aim and aspiration could be there, but it is not a realistic thing.
Yes.
So we need to be taken step by step, and therefore at various levels, these usually it's weekly study classes that are being conducted at various localities in the city. For the past 1 year, of course, because of this lockdown, all the classes are done online only. And then apart from that, from time to time, from any corporate or service organization or educational institutions, if they ask, then we give the same knowledge tailor made in the form that is applicable to them, to the corporate or the, for the, let's say for a student, how to control the mind during exam time, or how should he choose a career. These are the things that are more relevant, and they'll be able to relate to that more. So
Yes.
you are able to bring out that knowledge also. So these are the knowledge-oriented activities that we do. Apart from a couple of other children's classes also, which one of our trained people, they do chanting and storytelling to introduce it to the form. Like in Chinmaya Mission, it's more famous, the Bala Vihar classes that they do, something similar to that. These are the major areas of activity. And once in a year, we do conduct the Gita Jnana Yajna, where Swamiji and his daughter, disciple Sunandaji now, for them we organize lectures, because that is the way by which we are able to attract new people into this, because that sort of exposition for 4 days is required. Then out of that, a small percentage may want to pursue it, and then they start attending class, or then they come to know about this. So that is one of the things that we do. And we also connect people to Vedanta Academy, whether they want to visit there or join a 3-year course. or take up what is known as this e-learning course now. What we learn in 3 years of study at Vedanta Academy is now available online for anybody to pursue. And for Indian audience, it is much more in an easier way it is given. So they can always visit our website also, vedantaworld.org. All the details are given there. And similar things like various other cities, we conduct the study classes there. All these classes and everything is mainly for us also. So in that process, it may help others.
Yes, yes, wonderful. And Ramaswamy, we are almost towards the conclusion of the session. And I would want to ask you this, any concluding advice that you would give for a seeker who are starting out? How should his sadhana path be laid out?
As such, I do not know. Advice is a big word because that's for all great acharyas to give advice. But as I said, one of the great statement that always inspires me is the concluding line of Polonius' advice in Hamlet. Shakespeare writes in the play Hamlet, where a character called Polonius, who is the minister, is giving advice to his son Leatus as he's going to abroad for studies. And he gives a series of advices, all very, very practical, how to deal with money and character and various things. And finally, he says, after giving all the sets of advices, he says, finally, this above all means whatever I'm going to say now, this is the highest of all. Thine own self be true, and it must follow as night the day. Thou canst not then be false to any man. To your own self be true. This is sort of, I would say, the most difficult thing that we follow, because we want to be always want to be nice and be true to all other people. If we try to please each and every person, we ultimately end up not pleasing others, but more importantly, we are not being truthful to ourselves. On the other hand, if we are really being true to ourselves, we are exactly being truthful to others also. Now, what is this being truthful? Of course, it is to follow your conviction and conscience without any fear. And that is what Swami Ramatita says, even as a sadhana. What you fully believe as right, do it without any fear or favor. That is your sadhana. Also, if you are not able to find a conviction and goal and other things in life, even at whatever level that we are, if we are able to find out the deep calling within ourselves, be it even worldly desires, I would say, but be truthful to it, and then you are able to pursue that with conviction. That I would say then probably will lead you in the truthful path of finding out yourself also. That is why any liberal education has to ultimately lead you to the same truth. So if a person is genuinely pursuing science, if a person is pursuing mathematics or biology, once he gets into the what you say, the beauty of the subject and wanting to understand it, that is going to automatically draw him to the same truth only ultimately. So a person has to have this conviction of wanting to live his life of truth. Most of the time, it is based on the pressure of the family, based on the pressure of a society, peer pressures, that we try to live a life which is not really ourselves. We have to shackle away from that only. I think if a youngster, particularly youngster, because I would say he has a full life ahead of him. For all others who are at a later stage also they can do, but to unlearn and relearn with a mind which is already conditioned in certain ways, much more difficult. A person who has a fresh mind, he can implement it further. So let him be only, in fact, even schools, teachers, parents, they must encourage him to bring out this truthfulness in him. If he is being truthful to himself, I am sure Guru and God, they will, show the light for him further.
Thank you so much, Ram Swamiji. I think this has been a very eye-opening session, that I must definitely say. Thank you so much for that wonderful answers that you have given us. And with this, we conclude yet another session of Conversations on Consciousness with Ramaswamiji. And from the entire team of Advaita Academy, I thank you once again for agreeing to do this show and answering all those questions. Thank you once again. And viewers, please tune into our social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We'll be soon announcing further sessions and classes. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. No permission.